Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Dot Radio, also our finale. I'm your host, Zachery Grew.
And I'm your co-host, Deven Blight.
So with us today, we have our very special guest, the one and only Matt Vernier. So how you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. So if you don't know who Matt is, Matt originally created the Dot Radio. He's the founder of the Dot Radio. So you started back in 2015 when you graduated.
Yep. It started in 2014 before I graduated in October, and then it kind of just moved into 2015 and had it every Friday, I believe.
Yeah, and then you did it live as well.
Yep.
Unlike us, we just because it's a lot easier because like we can cut things out if we mess up, like I just did a minute ago.
Having it live was it was quite a challenge, but I mean we made it work.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say we, like you had an entire team, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had quite a few talent people. I mean, I had some people help me produce it, and then from there, just kind of had more people become interested in talking about whatever they wanted. I was really open to what each show was all about.
Yeah.
So basically, it varied from. I mean, it's the same process, really. But yeah, it's the same thing as if someone wanted to talk about music, I'm all for it. It's just one of those things, very open.
Like finding out the student body of RHS?
Yeah, we found out who was interested in doing radio stuff and who just wanted to kind of get more involved.
With us, really, when I first started, first few episodes, I brought a bunch of people on, but it sort of got difficult to every single week bring all these different people on because it wasn't that big of a thing, so not many people knew about it, so I had to go out and find people. And, I mean, really what we're going to be working on next year, too, is, touching on, advertising and marketing the Dot Radio, really getting it out there.
Yeah,
But, this year has been a very productive year. Deven came in, what was it, the 8th episode, I think?
Yeah, it was something like that. We were talking about memes.
Yeah, it was called the Meme Team.
And I remember the first time I, heard about Zach doing the Dot Radio, we were in driver's training together.
Yeah.
And, we were just sitting in the back of the car, and Miss Haddad was, talking about it with me. And I was like, wait, so you're, actually doing the radio thing? Because I remember in the beginning of the year, we had these little, reporter notepads that they gave us for newspaper. And it had, Y Media, the yearbook symbol, and the newspaper symbol. And then it also had the Dot Radio symbol. And I was like, I never heard of that before. So I was, interested in it. And I remember I was talking to you about it. I was like, that would be cool to, host. I was interested in doing it then. And then it actually happened.
Yeah, it was, we more did it because everything was, really, I don't know, we were sort of getting into, deeper stuff. We're let's lighten things up a bit because this is while, the election was going on and this and that and, all these heated debates. And we're let's talk about memes. The one and only thing that, I don't care what kind of, state of mind anyone's in. Everyone laughs at a meme. And I thought it was really going to be, a really, dumb discussion. But it really got interesting. And I think it was really funny to see how that all pulled together. But, this year's been good. It's, we put a lot of work into this. But, enough of that. Let's talk about you when you did the Dot Radio.
All right.
So, how did you, come to find this? Where did this, the idea come from?
The idea came from this very big, it's called MIPA. It's Michigan Interscholastic something. Anyway, someone had gone to a sort of small group discussion and talked about the importance of radio shows and podcasts and pros and cons and all that.
Yeah.
And someone had come to Mrs. Haddad and was hey, we should do this, kind of just briefly talked about it. No one really seemed that interested, but I was, obviously.
Yeah.
So I kind of took it all in my hands and was I'll get something started, I'll research, do my own thing and figure it out from there. It's weird, I still remember the exact dates. That was October 20th, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And then our first show was November, or it was opposite, whatever. But it had only taken me a month to until I had my first show with one little microphone and one little soundboard, and just worked with it from there. And then as we grew as a group, we ended up getting more microphones and more people interested
Mm-hmm.
in the Dot radio, and now seeing where it's at now, and knowing that it's growing too.
Yeah.
It's just gives myself a little bit of pride and joy, you know.
Well, just I think was it last month? We had the Virtue was Legacy, and I like the Dot Radio is like the legacy that you left behind at RHS, and that it sat there for a year, but then Miss Haddad, she came along, we got into this conversation. She's like, yeah, well, this guy Matt Vernier, he did this, and she's like, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah. So I went after school. I got all your your plans that you use for your episodes, and listened to your episodes too. Found out like the format you did, and really just adapted from that. So it was interesting, but it was fun. And to compare your episodes to ours, like the biggest thing was you did yours live, and then we do ours pre-recorded and edit them. And then also you had a lot more people on. I know with these last few episodes, me and Deven have had somebody on because it makes it a lot more interesting because who really wants to hear two guys ramble on about something. And that's why we do plan on growing next year too. But also, what was your usual routine while recording too?
Sometimes it was not organized. Don't put that in there. Basically, I would try to plan as early as a week in advance, like what's going on in entertainment news, what's going on in pop culture.
Yeah.
Just small things like that. And then I would also have to ask people, like, what's going on that I don't know about, whether that be, I don't know, sports or something, anything like that. So once I figure out what I want to do, it was kind of like, okay, now what's going to make the most sense? Since it's live, I can't edit it into making it the most sense. I have to plan ahead, planning, okay, I don't have an example, but these two things are similar to each other. So how am I going to transition into this next topic? Because if I keep talking about dogs and then we start talking about outer space, that's not going to work, and people are going to be like, "Wait, I thought you were just talking about dogs." So based off of that, it's sort of like that organizational standpoint to make your show flow better.
Yeah.
So you had to plan ahead with transitions and making sure that the conversation made sense, basically?
Right. So like I said, you don't want to have your normal conversation and then have it change to a completely different topic, because then your listeners are just going to get so confused.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You're talking about transitions. That was my biggest thing, because we talk about something and then jump right to another topic, and I'm sure I've already done it, in this episode. But it's hard though, because it's I don't know how to explain it, but it's difficult. Miss Haddad would write notes on our episodes and give us tips on what we need to focus on, and we would go from 2 pages of notes until a note card or a sticky note, and then to just nothing. Yeah, the episode was good. So I think that's it's nice to have that feeling we're doing better, we're growing, and it just keeps going up from here.
Right.
And then with your equipment too, though, you said that one little mic, we still have that equipment.
Oh man, that equipment's a joke now. But yeah, I mean, just had to work with what we had, and obviously we were fine with it. But as it grows now, it makes me happy to know that it's growing and we have actual radio equipment now.
Yeah.
Rather than a little microphone. But
Yeah, me and Deven, we always go, and that's what we had to use at first for the first few episodes. And we couldn't even record in the studio the entire time. We'd have to go move to random rooms to record because they'd be doing the daily dose. And what hour did you record in when you did it?
It's a second hour.
Second hour.
9 a.m. every day. Or not every day, every Friday. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I remember we had one phantom power outlet on our old sound mixer.
Yeah.
And I had that one mic that my dad found. I think it was either in the trash or he had like a rental house and they just left it there. So like we brought that in and we are like, wow, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we couldn't even mount it. I was just holding it. It was supposed to be on a shack mount.
Yeah, because that was the first like really, really good microphone we had, but now everything's just phantom power and clear audio, so.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't even notice the phantom power. Yeah, better than that little, I don't even know what you call it.
I think it's TRS is what you call it.
Crap, that's what you call
Yeah,
it.
there you go. That's a better term. But what are you doing now? Like you're in college?
Yeah.
See your T-shirt, Ball State Sports Link?
Yeah, I'm old. That's what happened. No. So right now I'm majoring in digital sports productions at Ball State, and my main focus is basically production of different sports, live broadcasting, and then also just telling different stories of different athletes at Ball State. The one I did most recently was about a swimmer, an African-American swimmer. His passion is architecture, and also his idol is another African-American Olympic swimmer, Cullen Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And he was fortunate enough to meet him in North Carolina, and we were fortunate enough to go with him to have Chase meet his idol. And they're both, Cullen's and Chase's stories are pretty similar. Cullen almost drowned when he was a kid, and Chase's great uncle had died when he was a young kid too.
Mm-hmm.
So with how similar each of those stories were, it just turned out to be what I made.
Yeah.
Or not only me, but also other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I'm just working on live events with cameras, graphics.
You've been doing soccer games, right?
Yeah, just in October I produced 2 soccer games. So that was super fun. Basically, when you produce a live sporting event, most of it is pre-produced, and then if something happens to go wrong or doesn't go as planned, since it's live, you kind of just similar to the dot radio. If something goes you didn't plan, crap, what do I do now? So it's kind of like one of those split-second decisions where you have to figure out what you're going to do next rather than what you had planned out.
Yeah. Have you had anything like that, like where something goes wrong and?
During I don't remember which game we did, but it was raining the entire game. And
all right.
As easy as it can be to put rain gear over a camera, which we did.
Yeah.
But there was water that squeezed into underneath, and just got the cord all wet, and we lost our main game cam. So we had to figure out what we would do to not only to fix it, but also what our alternative would be. Luckily, it wasn't that big of a deal. We had another camera underneath to act as that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just one thing where if you lose the camera, what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
So when you say pre-produced, what do you mean by that?
So when most live sporting events, you're going to have an open, then you're going to have certain storylines that you want to tell throughout the broadcast, and then and so on. So in the open, you're going to say, okay, I want you to talk about this, and that, and then the next thing, I want this camera to be filming a flag before we go to commercial break. Well, if that camera forgot that was his job, then, I mean, it's not necessarily the producer, but the director has to be like, okay, do this camera instead. And then as a producer, you're like, well, crap, I wanted to use that shot, but you just kind of have to move on from there.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a set plan of what each storyline you want, but then also you got to communicate to the director what shots you want. And obviously it's not going to be exactly the same. I can't tell you if there ever has been a time where it's been everything that the producer had wanted. So it's just one of those things where you put all your hard work into telling someone what you want, but then it's just, sometimes it just has to go into the trash and start all over.
And with the Chasing Opportunity, you said you worked on that one for months. You were the lead producer on that. And when we were talking, you said you can go into every little detail about that. And what's the planning process for doing something like that?
Too long. No, I'm just kidding. It is. It's a long planning process because you have to figure out what his actual story is. So when I was assigned the story, I knew that he was a swimmer. I knew. Actually, that was about all I knew. I knew he was a swimmer, so I had to have a pre-interview with him. All right, just tell me your story. What do you know? What do I need to know?
Yeah.
So we all figured out that. So he started drawing pools when he was a kid, and then he was just drawing in general different houses and different neighborhoods. Ironically enough, now he's a swimmer and he's an architecture major. So
wow.
it's sort of one of those ironic things that you sort of have to put in the story because it just makes that much sense.
Yeah.
And then, so that once you plan all that out, we knew Cullen Jones was a key point to him actually wanting to swim. Cullen sort of inspired him since he's African American.
Yeah.
And Cullen's African American. Chase was sort of like, wow, like there's not many African American swimmers, so I want to be like him. So we knew he was important, but we didn't know how we were going to necessarily tackle that.
Yeah.
But luckily enough, we got in contact with USA Swimming, and we were able to meet Cullen in North Carolina. We drove 10 hours there, slept, woke up at 6 a.m., interviewed Cullen for 15 minutes, and then left back the next day for another 10-hour ride. So, I mean, all that 20 hours was basically 15 minutes worth.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in the long run, it's completely worth it.
What takes, like, in the planning process, what takes longer, like the planning or the actual shooting or the editing?
In total time, it's definitely the editing process that is the hardest because you already know who you want to interview. You know what questions you want to ask his grandma, his mom, and Cullen and him. But then from there, once you have all that done and then all your B-roll, you put everything into the editing process and you're like, okay, we have 3 different stories we have to tell. We have to tell him that Chase is a swimmer. We have to tell him that he's an architecture major. We have to bring in mom and grandma talking about each of those things. We have to talk about, more than 3. We have to talk about how America has changed comparing African Americans and white people because there were points where African Americans couldn't swim in the same pool as white people could. So we had to kind of bring that history into a part of it because his grandma was very passionate about that and sort of just was the main focus of what his grandma talked about. And then obviously him meeting Cullen and how Cullen inspired Chase to start swimming. So it's all those pieces that you have to figure out, okay, similar to the Dot Radio again, how does each of this flow to make it an actual story rather than, okay, he draws, oh, by the way, he met Cullen Jones, oh, by the way, he's an architecture mate. It's just one of those things where it's so many stories, but it's so important too that you just have to sort of combine it all together and
make it, like you said, make it flow.
Make it flow, right.
And that's interesting. Like, I could never do anything like that. You know, this is as much as I could do, like, producing-wise, especially with, like, these episodes. Me and Deven spend 2 days planning on an episode, and then we make it, like, usually, like, 15 minutes long is our episode average. But you spend, like, how would you say, like, on planning? Like, a month on planning, or?
For the Chase story?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We figured out the story we knew that we were doing the story in December, and we started filming in the end of January. So
wow.
Yeah, so, but then I guess you have to throw into winter. But for the most part, yeah, it was about a month of planning, and then filming, and then editing took probably about 3 weeks or so.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of long nights with that editing. There were a couple nights where we would stay till 3 a.m. or so. But
you also have, like, an entire, like, team, like producing team too, that you have to manage as well. Rather with me and Deven, it's just 2 people, you know.
Right.
So it's a lot easier.
Right. I was lucky and fortunate enough to have 2 amazing co-producers and 2 faculty advisors. So in total, there was probably about 5 of us working on the story, and then a couple other people here and there just helping us with interviews, and but yeah, it just without the team, just having me specifically work on the story that's that big would be, for the most part, impossible. Just because you're looking at something so much, because you're listening to the same thing over and over and over again. You're just going to think that it's fine in the long run, but in reality, someone else has to hear it in order to fix it.
Yeah. And this, like, would you say, like, because you obviously have a passion for producing and stuff like this, would you say that sort of, like, originated for, like, doing the dot radio or being in broadcasting, or?
I've always had the interest of wanting to do things my own way. So I kind of like the feel of I want to do it my way. I'll tell you how I want to do it.
Yeah.
Rather than someone telling me, okay, this is how you want to do it.
You sort of want to be like your own boss.
Exactly. I like to make the decisions on my own, as stubborn as that sounds.
No, yeah, that's exactly how I am. So.
Right. So I know back when you first started in broadcasting, I don't know if this happened with your senior year or if you ever experienced this, but now we have these really nice like Mac computers, really nice cameras. Obviously now with the dot radio we have this equipment, but like when you were doing it, the broadcasting department really didn't have a lot of great equipment. So what was it like to work with this, like, quite frankly, just horrible equipment, and then go into something where you're using like this professional, like, great equipment that costs like thousands of dollars?
I didn't know how to use it. I had no idea. I didn't even know how to use a Mac, in all honesty. I only knew simple PC stuff. So it was kind of, I guess it was good and bad to be from a school that had crap equipment to a school that had all this professional stuff. So basically, I was just kind of thrown into it and kind of had to learn on my own on how to use all this crazy professional equipment. When we were here in broadcasting, we use these tiny Canon handhelds, and now we have these huge, I don't know, T5i? Yeah, T5i. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know.
We're like pretty privileged now to have all this stuff.
You're very privileged now. Yeah, yes. But it doesn't make me, or it makes me extremely happy to know that the program's just, it's more along the lines of growing rather than.
Oh yeah, it's always
decreasing.
growing. Yeah, it's been growing for like a while now. We're supposed to have 1-to-1 technology, but we'll see how that goes.
Wow. I remember when we had. Do we have all Macs now?
I think the Macs are just in.
Head edge room, and
Just
then
in
we have
head eds.
Chromebooks for like the places that have like
Yeah.
cards in the rooms already.
You're welcome. I helped with that Bond video.
Did you?
Yeah.
How did that? Like, what was?
I just for that Bond video, it was a group of us who filmed different parts of the school. Like, I don't remember what schools I went to, but it was basically, okay, here's our security problems. Film a bunch of B-roll about security problems.
Okay.
And then Dr. Cost would come in, talk about our security problems. Okay, next thing. And I can't remember off the top of my head
Nice.
everything we did, but I know one of them was technology.
You're That's
welcome.
cool. The only thing I've ever done like that is in the 8th grade we went to the Board of Education and talked about getting more funding for like STEM and Lego robotics for that. That was pretty fun though.
Yeah.
But it's nerve-wracking though. Like, I don't know. I've never really been a public speaker until like, we got into the dot radio, and now I'm just like, I don't know. I don't really care. Like, my self-esteem's just so up there. Like, anyone can say anything about me, and I don't really care.
Right.
But
And that's good.
So I think I would say like the biggest jump in like self-confidence and like public speaking that I've ever gotten was like working at shows, because I had to do a lot of like one-on-one talking with people, and like being able to do that and just put it out of your mind, that like any like thing that you have in your mind, like oh, what is this person going to think about me? It doesn't really matter because you're just selling them something. And then doing this with the dot radio, like, you're just talking, and it doesn't become a big thing. And it's one of those skills that, like, I couldn't imagine living without, like, these talking skills that I have now. Like, last year it was horrible. Like, I could barely talk to, like if I had to, like, ask somebody for a pencil, like, it would be, like, on my brain for, like, 10 minutes, like, how am I going to do this? Like, now it's just like, hey, can I borrow a pencil? Like, it's not a huge thing anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely interesting to see how that works. But I think, are we getting to the end here? What do you think?
I think you might be.
I think we're getting to the end here.
Yeah.
I don't have any weather prepared. We usually do the weather, but this is our finale, so we won't do the weather.
It's probably going to be hot.
It's gonna be hot. Probably gonna be rainy, like it is every single day. But
It's been too much rain.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
We'll
I'll
see.
pull it up real fast.
Are you gonna check the weather for
What
us?
do you usually do? The weekend or
Yeah,
what?
we do
Yep.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I'll look about you.
Do I get the honors of
Yeah,
doing the weather?
yeah, you get the honors.
Wow, okay. So your weekend forecast for June 2nd through the 4th. Friday we have 76 with not much rain, just mostly sunny. Saturday we have 72 with a low percent chance of rain, only 20% for Friday and Saturday. Then Sunday looks like the most rain we're going to have. There's a 90% chance of rain and a temperature of 73 degrees. So it's going to be a little warm, but a little rainy on Sunday.
That was beautiful, Matt. Thank you very much.
Changed my major to meteorology now.
Are you finding a joke for us, Devin?
I'm going to try to find one.
Do you have a joke, Matt? Do you know any jokes?
No.
What does a house wear? A dress.
Oh, I get it. Like a dress and then a house. Our jokes, like,
No.
I don't know. There was a few episodes where we just stopped telling jokes because they were so bad. We used to do random facts too, but
I never know what to, like, say after the joke. I just kind of, like,
This is-
we sit there quiet for, like, 10 minutes and we're like, all right, so this is the end?
Just let people take it in.
Yeah.
oh man, I can't believe this. We're about to end the last episode of the year, but that's okay. We got next year though.
You got next year.
If this
Year after.
if this was like my senior year and this was the last episode, I'd probably like break down and cry right now. But no, I think we'll be good. Next year's gonna be really fun. I don't want to give too much away, but I can say it's going to involve. But yeah. Well, I'm gonna shake your hand right here, Matt.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt, for being on. That was a long handshake.
That's all right.
But thank you to all our listeners. This was a really fun year. And have a good summer, all right, Jess?